Munin.
This is gonna get awkward real fast, buddy.
Just pick him up.
He's attached to the chair.
You're a vet. Come on. Come on, buddy.
I do this all the time. Ow! It's fine. It's fine. I love cats. Okay.
We're definitely leaving that in.
Great.
Supers!
It's just my dignity. It's fine. All right, here we go. Welcome. Uncensored Double Decreases, Episode 3. I'm Erin, Etarosky DVM on Instagram and Etarosky on Ravelry.
I'm Ana. I'm at Circle Stitches and at Toilet Trouble on Instagram and Circle of Stitches and Toilet Trouble on Ravelry. And today we have Winnie as our guest. You might recognize her from my Instagram feed.
I'm her yarn minion at the shop.
Right hand Yarny.
She's on your left hand.
Well. Oh well.
My Instagram is cutie_Mousy, I think.
Yeah. QT
Yeah.
as in the letters QT. We'll definitely put that in the show notes.
The underscore happens or doesn't happen depending on where I have my handle, but that's usually my handle.
Well, we'll make sure we put it in there correctly.
That's a nice view, Munin. I hope that's out of fun.
And of course, Munin is back on the show today.
He's angling for a regular spot, not a recurring guest appearance.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah.
So it's been about a month since we last recorded, because March is really crazy.
Fun, crazy fun.
Yeah, crazy fun. But we just got done with our yarn crawl here, the Knit North yarn crawl, which happened March, was it 14th through 17th?
14th through 17th.
Thursday through Sunday.
It was like on an off week this year because we actually didn't have our sip and stitch on a Thursday that it usually starts.
Right. So not only is it 4 really busy days, it's been, a month of just hauling a lot of boxes of yarn and inventory to get ready. So there hasn't been too much time for recording.
And it was St. Patty's Day weekend, which is a very busy event for some of us.
Yeah, some of us are working, some of us are busy in other ways.
It was fun.
But here we are. So, what do we want to start with?
Let's talk about what we're wearing.
All right.
I'll go first because I'm only wearing one thing because I came from work today. This is the Renegade Shawl by Rye Flower Knits. I did this as a test knit for her, I think. I think it was. The yarn is 2 skeins. The black and the gray is wool-like from Michael's. It was on sale for like $1 a ball. It's acrylic blend, but it's super soft. And then the red, gray, black kind of heathery yarn is Cascade Quattro, I think. It's old. It's discontinued, but it was a Christmas present from my dad, and I wanted to wear it, use it with some black and some gray. So I use it as the accent color in this, and I really like it. It's soft and pretty, and I can't put my arms over my head today.
Go because you're sore from all the rucking?
72 pull-ups.
Okay.
With help.
Yeah, this is all part of that military-inspired fun that Erin likes to do.
It's
that
very fun.
The rest of us don't think is so fun.
All right, that's my knitwear. That's all I got.
Hold on, I think I messed up an increase. Give me a second.
Uh-oh.
I missed an increase!
Ah! Notice
Okay.
that I did not finish my sweater yet.
Right, so... Okay, well, first I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing, and then I'm going to talk about all the things that I failed to get done between episodes.
So we can have whip fails.
Well, you were working like crazy, so
That's true.
It's totally understandable.
So I am wearing my vitamin D cardigan, which you'll see Winnie's also wearing one. So yeah, we did this at the shop kind of as an informal, just friend knit along. Jen knit one too. She's not here today, but maybe we can get a picture of hers.
Yeah.
But we all used wash fingering, which is a really awesome yarn. It's owned by Jocelyn. She's in Pennsylvania now, I believe. And it's an all organic yarn line made in the U.S.
And
this is
emphasize on using non-release sheep, which I found very interesting.
On what sheet?
Non-release. It's the process of when, basically, I guess it's inhumane way of basically shaving bacteria off of sheep's butts, and that's an issue that people usually have with sheep shearing and all that stuff.
Right.
So on their website, they actually talk about the organic process, but also that they pride themselves on not using non-release. So sheep that aren't going through that process, because usually it's a very like harsh way of like hacking off like bacteria.
Butt bacteria.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Wow, I did not know we were going to be talking about sheep butts on the
Sorry.
podcast today.
I only
Hope
know
you
because
folks are enjoying
I had
that.
to
I
put that
feel
on
like-
the website. So.
I feel like I should look into that and incorporate that into my work vocabulary the next
I mean,
time we have a fat, dirty cat come in.
Yeah. Yeah, you're the vet. You should know these things.
I'm
so,
small
I'm
animal.
probably not explaining it
yeah.
right, but
Well,
yeah.
so we'll make sure that we add something about that in the show notes. But so this is the color silver maple.
I did mine in. Oh, I can't remember right now.
Look it up on your phone, quick, while I talk about this other thing. So I'm also wearing. This is the Lila chevron cowl, and this is actually one of my favorite pieces to wear all the time. It's 100% cashmere, and it's knit in a tube, and then the ends are connected, so it's double thick, and it's 100% cashmere. And these kits used to be made by Luxadorna Knits, and I just found out at the beginning of this month that they're not making them anymore, which made me really sad.
Wah, wah.
But we do still have a small handful of them left in the shop. They're available online too, and we had a special colorway called Abracadabra with some like Salem-inspired colors, which I'll
So
have
if
to
you
wear.
like purples and greens and blacks.
Yeah, which colors, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, super cozy.
Okay, mine is made out of schist, so it's a slightly darker gray than on it, as you can kind of see.
Yeah, and I think yours is a little warmer too.
A little bit, yeah.
I think your gauge is way tighter than mine too.
Definitely. Definitely. It's also a little. It needs a little detailing.
Yeah, I mean, we made these before Yarn Crawl last year, so we've definitely been wearing them a ton. And it's just a really great piece. I've actually thought about making another one in a darker gray or black.
I actually got Mallory Sock to make another one, so I can make a full sleeve.
Oh, what
Yes.
color?
Ravelry red.
Nice.
Oh.
Alright.
So
Okay, so what else are you wearing?
I am also wearing my version of the pussy hat. I am not a pink person, so there was no way in hell I was ever gonna make a pink hat and wear it after. I did make pink hats and donated them to the march, but for myself, I basically combined two different patterns, because I love cables, and just kind of made it in purple, because as you can probably see
And
from
then
my hair.
yarn is...
We all like purple
That's-
a lot.
yeah.
Right.
So this is
yeah.
Malrigo Rios in the Sabiduría.
Okay, sabiduría.
I never took Spanish, so
Which...
I apologize.
Sabiduría, yeah. Which means wisdom.
Oh, okay. I learned something new today. I am also wearing my vitamin D, as we just talked about, which
Oh, yeah.
I think all of us ended up having to extend it because we realized that the designer has a short torso. Cause,
Yeah, I extended it only by one repeat, but my gauge is not as tight as yours.
and I also, probably because my tight gauge I extended by 2, so.
And the designer is Heidi Kermeyer.
And then I'm also wearing, as my tight gauge, this is a little smaller than it probably should be. This is Moons and
Pretty.
Satellites by Larissa Brown. I actually tested this for her before the Rose City Yarn Crawl. So this is one of the official crawl shawls for their yarn crawl, which I think happened beginning of March. And the actual version comes with 4 colors, but she was looking for testers for 2 colors, which I kind of signed up for because I also didn't want to deal with having to find 4 colors that went together.
Where's the Rose City?
I want to say Portland,
It's in
Oregon.
LA. Wait, yeah, it's Portland, Oregon. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Portland, Oregon. I think it's Oregon, but
It is. It
It's
is.
not Maine.
No, it is.
No,
It's definitely
no.
Oregon.
no, West
Yeah.
Coast.
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that because I went to some of their like rose garden places when I was there.
Oh, and I'm wearing socks.
Oh,
just forgot.
That's a nice transition. Well, more about the. What are the colors for your shawl? Did you say those? Or did I
Oh,
say-
no, I forgot. So the whitish with the speckles is Good Silence, Mad Tosh Merino Light, and then the bluey purple or blurple is
Blurple.
Blurple is Ceremony and Dandelion, which is now a discontinued yarn line. And I
Yeah.
happened to snag the last 2 that we had in the shop because why not?
Because it's purple.
Because it's Blurple.
Violet.
Okay, so that's what we're wearing. Do we want to talk about projects that we have done? Do we want to do current events first? What do you think?
I don't know. Let's do current events, I guess.
Okay. So we've been taking a little time each podcast to talk a little bit about some discussions happening, in the yarn world, specifically about racism and inclusivity. And I actually just wrote an article for Yarn People magazine, which was just their second issue. But Yarn People has sort of been really involved in featuring, more diverse people than you generally see in a lot of publications. And I just wrote an article called "Creating a Safe Space," and it talks about my journey moving to the U.S. as an immigrant, and my experience as an immigrant overall, and my experience as an immigrant within the yarn community, and then the efforts that we've been making to have an inclusive space at the shop. And there's a picture of the safe space sign that's on our front door, and then there's a picture of me and Winnie hugging some yarn.
Yeah.
So I definitely encourage anyone who's interested to check out Yarn People.
Do you have the article linked in your Instagram or just a picture of the story?
Well, I just realized earlier today that it was already live, so I just have the screenshot in my stories right now. But I will.
They're on their third issue right now, right?
No, they're working on the third issue.
Okay.
The second issue just came out, so I will make sure that I put a link up for that too.
We'll put it in the comment or the description box for the YouTube video. That's probably the easiest way to from here anyway.
Yeah. And since we're talking about that, I guess I'm going to talk about something a little bit difficult. One of the hard things of this discussion that's been happening is sort of the push and pull between how much do you talk about these things within, context of knitting, because people just want to knit and they don't want to think about it. And, there's the other side, which obviously says that we can't pretend that that's not happening because knitting is a part of real life. And that for, those of us who experience different forms of discrimination, we don't really get to decide that we're going to turn that off. It's just part of our lives. And so I actually had an incident yesterday morning after I left the shop. I was running a workshop, and then I left because Winnie was taking over for the afternoon. And then I apologized, warning up front, I am going to drop some F-bombs because I'm going to describe what actually happened. But I had an incident with a white man who was driving a Prius, who was trying to do some not so legal driving maneuvers and was upset that I was in his way, preventing him from doing so. And he started trying to back his car up onto mine, which, I was honking so he wouldn't destroy my car for no reason. And I don't know who he is. I don't know if he happens to know who I am, just because people around Salem tend to know me, but he got out of his car and he screamed at me, "Get out of my fucking way, you fucking foreigner." And I have no idea what possessed him to say that, but it was super upsetting. I got a little bit upset. I got out of my car. I yelled some things at him. Definitely called him a racist piece of crap.
He is.
And I asked him to apologize. Of course he wouldn't. He retreated into his car and slammed the door. And at that point, my friend Amanda was in my car, and she she says, "You know what? Let's just go get in your car." And so I got in the car, and at that point, the person who had been in a nearby spot had moved. So I pulled my car forward so that this guy could just get out, and hopefully we just move on with our lives. But then he decided to pull out and pull up next to me and continue screaming at me and insulting me. And he was actually throwing litter at my window where I was. He was throwing just pieces of trash, and then he threw a whole water bottle at the car and then drove off. And I actually managed to, fumbling while I was sobbing, pulled out my phone, and I managed to take a picture of his license plate. And then I went down to the police department with Amanda to give a statement. And the police said that hate speech is not a crime, so that there wasn't anything that they could do, and that even though he had thrown things at my car, he hadn't thrown them at me without some sort of barrier in between, so it doesn't count as assault, so they couldn't do anything about that. And so it was basically too bad it happened, and we can't do anything. So
I wonder what they would have said if it was a glass bottle and broke your car, though.
Well, if it had actually damaged the car, then they could get him for property damage, but because it didn't damage the car, it's basically nothing. And the really disturbing part is that the police officer that I was talking to was a woman. She said to me that the kinds of people that do these things tend to know the law really well and tend to know what line that they shouldn't cross so that they don't get themselves in trouble.
So this is my recommendation. I have a dash cam in my car because I was run off the road by a taxi cab who fled the scene. And it's $50. It would have gotten this on tape, and if because I bet he knows you. He has to know you because like the casual observer looking at you probably doesn't assume that you're Brazilian.
Right.
So I strongly suspect he knows you, and if that's the case, he may do it again. And if he does it again, that's probably grounds for harassment.
Right. Well, that's the thing. They asked me if I knew him, and I said that I didn't, and they said because I don't know him, I can't claim harassment. But I told them because it was right outside, like it was in the parking lot of like Deb's Diner, like right in the entrance there. And I asked the folks at Deb's, because they know me, I go there all the time, if they had a security camera, and they said yes. And so I asked the police officer, like, if I come back with footage, can you do anything? And they said, like, to not bother.
Well, a good dash cam's $50 and records a lot of stuff. So it may be worth the peace of mind in case it happens again.
Yeah, I agree. It was just one of those things that it was super frustrating because she said, well, if you had just kept him blocked in and called the police, like in the way that he couldn't flee, we could have gotten there. And it's just one of those questions of, how much are you willing to sort of escalate the situation to make sure that, law enforcement can do something, or you just sort of let it go and realize that, like, nothing's going to happen to this guy. They
That's
actually...
terrible advice.
Right, I mean, like, it's horrible.
Sorry.
And so they ran his license plate, and the license plate was actually registered to a woman who was, I assume, the woman who was in the passenger seat, like, covering her face, like she wanted to, die.
Sometimes, like, I don't know this person, but I'm stuck here kind of thing.
Right, so I think it's her car, but so the police officer actually called her just to see if she could, at least say something to them, and the woman never answered, so they're like, that's it, like, it's a dead, dead case, so. But, it left me feeling pretty crappy.
Yeah, that's a shit. I'm gonna swear now. That's a shitty thing for someone to do, and I'm sorry I had to go through that.
Yeah, so, it was yesterday, so I'm feeling a little better, but I spent all of yesterday feeling really rattled. But, it's because of, things like that. I can't the next day come onto a podcast and just talk about knitting and pretend that, everything's beautiful and perfect and lovely. So, I appreciate that we can talk about these things here.
Real life.
So, anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. I guess now we'll get back to the knitting. Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to talk about whips, I guess?
Yeah, I guess we can talk about some of the things that we had on the needles last time and how we did with that. And I did not put buttons on any of the things I said I was going to from last time. I really, really meant to. I carried them in my bag for a month with the buttons in the bag. But I don't know.
Did you ever pick up buttons for your shaken and stirred?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I picked wooden buttons for that. I have the buttons picked out. I just don't know what my block is. But I wanted to show that I have at least once in my life succeeded putting buttons on something.
This is where we splice in the song from American Idol, A Moment Like This. And now you can pick up your cardigan and show it to us.
So, it's funny because this is actually, the Shaken or Stirred is a Thea Coleman pattern, and so is this. This is Dark and Stormy, and this is the back, and it's all cables, and the front has some cables too, and this is a cardigan where I actually succeeded in putting the buttons on it. This is Tosh Vintage. This colorway was William Morris. It's been discontinued, and so it took me 6 months to even buy the buttons for this. And what I ended up getting were these ceramic buttons that are handmade by Melissa Jean. And I saw her at Rhinebeck. And these are just the most perfect buttons. They have the same, brown undertones with the, turquoise on top of it. Mm-hmm. And so my point is that if I hadn't waited 6 months, the buttons would not have been this perfect. Therefore,
sometimes it's allowed to mull just like yarn.
Therefore, I am totally justified in not immediately putting buttons on.
I agree. So did you have that sweater with you when you got the buttons, or did you just, see them and think, this looks pretty good, I'm going to get these?
No, I was wearing it at Rhinebeck with no buttons on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. I will wear the cardigans with no buttons. I just never button them up.
I need to put buttons on my fade cardi. It's floppy.
So how's your whip that you're still working on?
My whip. I'm getting there. So this is the Bubble Sweater by Stephen West. I'm on the bottom hem. It's a folded hem, and it's twisted ribbing, so I'm taking my time because it's not my favorite thing in the world to knit. I can do stockinette around forever, but just the one little having to go through the back loop for the twisted rib really bothers me. So I'm gonna knit. I'm probably about halfway done, maybe a little less than halfway done, with the bottom hem, and then it's on to Sleeve Island. If I decide to do, I'll do them because I'm gonna do thumb holes in them too. So that's that. I like it. It's Harrisville Designs Nightshades in Talk Radio and some hand dyed Knit Picks Capra that I dyed myself. It's getting there.
Yeah,
Slowly
you
but
also
surely.
you also got a little slowed down because you decided to add the kangaroo pocket to match your.
Yeah, I added a pocket. I forgot about that. Not kangaroo, like a sweatshirt hoodie style pocket. So it's
you're right. Kangaroo is this
yeah.
way. Yeah.
I kind of fudged it in. I made it up.
Not this way. Not this way.
What kind of kangaroos do you see, Winnie?
Not any in real life.
I don't know. I like a muff pocket. I don't know. There goes my protein.
Maybe.
That's
I don't
fine.
know.
So yeah, and I was also I did some other sock knitting in the meantime, so this got put off to the side. So yeah, it's getting there.
I think you've had a Rye Flower Knits project on every episode so far.
Probably. I did a lot of test knitting for her last year. I like her patterns. They're fun. They have a lot of yarn.
A lot of stash.
A lot of stash.
Next.
I did actually finish one project, even though I didn't do buttons. I was knitting on my Nordiska last time, and I did finish it. And I know that it looks really tiny, but it's crop fit, so it hits me at about waist length. And the sleeves are, like, they're not even quite 3/4, they're a little shorter than 3/4. But I used Harrisville Shetland, and I did 4 colors instead of 3 because I wanted to have a little more of a pop there. So I added this, like acid green, and I changed the neckline from a V-neck to a crew neck. And I changed the gauge. The original gauge for the pattern was 20 stitches to 4 inches, and I changed it to 22, just because I felt like Fair Isle needs a bit of a tighter gauge than something like that when it's knit at a fingering weight. But I'll show off my floats.
Ooh. Very nice.
Yeah, so I was able to wear that for our anniversary party, which was on March 7th. It's part of the conclusion of the sweater challenge. But I've been so tired during and since Yarn Crawl that I haven't done too much knitting. I don't remember if I had already cast these on. Do you remember?
I don't think so.
Yeah, this was my
No, because the last one, you still have the first one you have the yarn hanged up.
Yeah, I know I've shown the yarn hanged up before. This was my January club colorway that I dyed called Where the Thrush Sings, and so I've got this much. I've started the gusset. And so I guess we should talk a little bit about Sock Madness, which is what Winnie's working on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did some. Did you bring any of your Sock Madness socks?
They're there. Oh, they're mad, and they're there. They're real mad.
I'm actually wearing my qualifying pair for this year. I'm working on round 1.
Wait, so
we should talk about Sock
explain
Madness.
what Sock Madness is for the people who are not into that.
So
go ahead.
Okay, so it's inspired by March Madness, or kind of. It's like an elimination style speed knitting, sock knitting competition. It's global. It's through Ravelry. It's like thousands of people, right? Like
I think
a
so.
lot.
There's 1,800 people that actually made it onto a team, including cheerleader this year.
Okay.
So, and that's not even people that were trying to qualify.
Okay.
So it's over that. Yeah.
So what they do is that for this year there was a bonus, like a Stash Buster, Scrap Buster pattern, and then they put out the qualifying pattern March
First.
1st. Yeah, it was 2 weeks before St. Patty, March 3rd.
Yeah.
So that was the Smock Madness sock, which was smocked. And the details are very specific for Sock Madness. You have to knit a minimum of a certain size. You have to get all the details in. You have to shoot very specific photographs. And this is all to make sure that you're not cheating on your knitting, and that you're knitting the required amount, and that you're maintaining the designer's intent for how the socks are supposed to look. So it's really heavily moderated, and it's very daunting for a rookie like me. So that said, I made it into the cheerleader pile because I had a friend visit during the last weekend of the qualifying round, and I just didn't want to knit fanatically while he was here. So I'll pick up my socks.
You know, that reminds me, I did a test knit of a shawl pattern that had a bunch of smocking, but because it's not
Mhm.
officially released yet, I can't show it. So I actually did knit a complete project in between
Well, it's funny
podcast
because we were
episodes.
smocking and you were smocking, but
Yeah.
it was completely different.
Yeah.
Right,
I
you
can't talk
had
about
like
it.
sport weight, right?
No, it was Erin weight. It was
Yeah.
a Quince Osprey, and I knit through 4 skeins of that into a beautiful shawl that you will hear about in June.
So these are, Winnie's got hers on her feet. These are the Smock Madness socks. I just kind of picked up some yarn. I knew it was going to run out, and I didn't care. So I stash busted for the foot of my second one. Sock Madness, don't care.
Yeah.
It's crazy, whatever.
So, yeah, we had a brief cut because right on schedule for episode 3, we still haven't quite figured out the tech part, and we ran out of memory card storage.
But we realized it before we talked for another 20 minutes, so we're
So.
making progress. But yeah, I underestimated how much yarn the smocking would take up. So the yarn for these is cherry trio yarns in some colorway that I don't know what it is because the ball bands are long gone and the colorway is discontinued, and I think the yarn is too. And the toe section, the foot and toe, is Knit Picks Felici in Ice Cream Truck and some other colors that I don't know what they are. One might be Goth Kitty. I don't know. Probably not. Whatever. I used them up. I was very happy to use up 3 balls of scrap yarn. So, and then
Alright.
Winnie's got hers on her feet too.
Yeah.
The kind of purple. Is that a variegated or tonal?
That's a tonal.
Yeah,
highly-
it's tonal. It's a hand dyed yarn from a Netherlands dyer
Yeah.
who only dyes part of the time because she's more of a stay at home mom, so her shop's not always up and available. But I got it 4 Sock Madnesses ago, which is the first year I joined, and it's been mulling for 4 years, so it's finally come to light that I can use it for a pair.
Mhm.
So you only did the 1 pair, right? For the
Yes,
Sock Madness?
I
You
didn't finish the pair, so I made significant progress. So they put me in the cheerleader round, which means I still get the patterns. And the bonus pattern, the next one they released, is awesome, and I want to knit it. They're so
Is it
pretty. Is it brioche? I didn't look at it
it's
too
just
closely.
stitches.
Oh.
But it looks like brioche.
It's
Yeah.
pretty.
Yes, I'm like, I must knit faster. But
Yeah.
yeah. So Erin has the advantage that she can now modify her socks. and
Tapped
not,
out.
She can not have to meet certain requirements.
I
and
can
stuff
knit them
like
to
that.
fit me.
Right, that's always been my big beef with Sock Madness, is that they say that your sock has to be at least 9 inches long for the foot.
Right.
And I
Only
read,
9 inches.
okay, but I have size 5 feet, so my foot is 8.5 inches. And I actually messaged them once to ask why, instead of dictating that the foot has to be a certain length, why not just say you have to knit X repeats total? You know, so if that means that you end up with a longer foot because you have bigger feet and a shorter ankle,
Mhm.
or you have a smaller foot, you know, then you end up with a taller ankle, but everyone knits the same amount. And they actually wrote back and said, you know, the point of Sock Madness isn't to have socks that fit you, and I was like, okay, I'm out.
It's a game. I mean, different competitions have different rules.
No, I get it, but you
Yeah.
know, but they fit your feet, so.
Yeah.
But those
Um,
are in the medium, right? Because you had to knit at least the medium.
For
No,
this one,
the new ones.
the new ones are medium.
They fit you?
I don't know yet because I don't have heel in.
They look like they're really big.
So they might be slightly big, but we'll see. It's fine. I mean, they're not like hard socks
Madness.
big, so they still kind of fit me, and I'm perfectly fine with not completely negative ease. But yeah,
Yeah, so this is a, what'd you say, star toe?
start tech, yeah. Which, by the way, most people they were like trying to check whether or not their star toes are done right. Basically, look all like pasty.
Oh, yeah. Like total Janet Jackson
I was like,
sunshine
I
nipple.
see smiley face.
button.
I'm like, I know you're trying to check to see if your star toes are done,
Okay.
but
So,
yeah.
so let's mark this moment. Episode 3 is where, like,
The
all
first
propriety
mention of a
went
nipple.
out
And
the
the
window.
swear words.
So, so we had swearing for the first time this episode. We've now officially mentioned nipples. We've mentioned sheep butts. So just know that from here on
Oh,
out.
Mulesing. Do not Google. It's mulesing.
Musing, I am horrible
Don't
at
Google that.
pronunciation.
That's a trigger warning. It is.
Or if you Google it, don't Google images. It is.
No, it came up on definition.
Oh,
So
it didn't come up
apparently
for definition
PETA
for
has
me, so.
overtaken the search engine optimization for this, and there are graphic pictures. So don't do that
Okay,
if you
so
are
be
easily
warned.
offended.
Yeah, so these two looked it up while we were figuring out the battery situation. I mean, the source situation. I didn't look, so.
I'm a veterinarian. It's my duty.
Yeah.
Duty.
And I'm.
Well, we're also trying to figure out whether or not I was hacking out the pronunciations.
You were.
Yeah.
we were. We
Anyway.
figured. It's okay.
Okay. So what's this?
Okay.
What's this pattern?
This one is called De Morgo. I'm sorry, I
Oh,
have
boy.
not watched Stranger things.
Oh, Demogorgon.
Demogorgon. And, yes. And I kept wanting to say Gormagon because I've been binging Bones, so that's a different character in that. And like it's similar, but there's a DE in front of it. I'm like, okay.
Demogorgon.
Yeah, Demogorgon.
So, Demogorgon.
Okay, I'll say now I understand these
Which
shapes.
is also from Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yes.
Isn't that,
Someone actually did a nerd bite on that.
Yes, but I
so
think
I'm like,
I'm the only one here who's actually played D&D. So
I played
Sure.
a little bit, but not
have you
enough.
played? Well, you played Pokemon and Ingress, so no judging.
True.
We're all geeks in
And
our own
Catan.
way.
Lots of Catan.
Yeah. So okay, so this is the first round,
Yes.
right? The
and
smock game was the cheerleading round. This is the first round.
This is the official first round, and they're actually mirroring peers.
When did you start this?
That one. So I did this in 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah, because it dropped on Friday.
Okay, start on Friday. Today is Monday.
So you're taking time out of your knitting contest to be here.
No, she's knitting on it.
No, I know, but like this is not dedicated. Like thank you for devoting your attention during Sock Madness to us, because now it makes sense to me how much of a commitment this is.
This is simple comparatively to other socks.
Like what? What other socks, Winnie? Show us
hold
what
on.
you have.
Before we go there, how quickly did you have to finish it, or was it just as quickly as possible?
So first round, we still kind of technically get 2 weeks, but also dependent on how quickly the slowest team fills up their spots. So round 1, there would be 36 people that move on, and that
Per team.
Per team, and each team is slightly different. They're within the 40 to 46 people per team range. As far as official teams, cheerleaders are kind of like whatever the leftover is. So they're not officially like rostered and stuff like that. The first person to actually finish, of course, is on what we refer to as that team, which is the fastest team, and most people on that team are either Finnish or just mad. There's actually one of the person on there is actually a college professor in Wisconsin, so not quite Finn, but fast. And she found out about this competition from Reddit a couple years ago.
The knitting subreddit.
Yeah,
I
so
still
the
don't
first
quite
year
get
was
Reddit,
actually
but-
done within a day. I don't know if
Wait,
it's
with both of them?
the pair, yeah.
Okay, I have a theory that people who finish that quickly actually have 2 people knitting and they just don't say anything.
Or they just don't have lives, or they don't eat, or
but
like
even
don't
if
have
I
work.
even if I didn't have I'm a pretty fast knitter, and even if I did nothing that day, I would not knit a full pair of socks.
Yeah, because I literally finished this pair. I'm like, oh, let me just start the 2 and go to bed. I was falling asleep. I'm like, nope, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's possible. I don't think I'll even still be that fast if I was like completely didn't have other real life responsibilities. But
Yeah, I don't get it.
yeah, the first year I did Sock Madness, the winning pair on the last round did the pair in like 19 hours.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It is.
It's
And
good.
it was color
Good
work.
job. I'm jealous of your skills, but
Yeah, but you know what? Can you imagine how much more money you'd have to spend on yarn if you were knitting that quickly? Because you go through your projects like.
I don't think that's my limiting factor. Like, I think if I were knitting a lot more quickly, I would feel better about my stash because I would know that it's not more yarn than I can possibly knit in the next 10 years, which is what I have right now.
No,
Yeah.
that's not true. You can definitely knit that within
But
like.
this
If I
competition,
became suddenly unemployed, sure.
maybe. But this competition is also not just about speed. It's like learning new skills and stuff like that. So yeah, like I learned a whole bunch of new skills in the last 4 years. So, yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna,
you've
I'm
got.
gonna check the thing now because now I am paranoid about it. This is me making sure. We're good. 8:24.
Okay, 8:24, and I'll make sure that we don't go over another 20 minutes just in case.
Yeah.
So okay, so you have a bunch of socks from
So I don't have
last year.
all. No, it's over the past 3 years. I want to say I don't have all of them.
Are they all sock madness socks?
But they're all Sock Madness socks.
Alright, see
And
Show 'em off.
so I think my oldest pair is actually this pair.
I think I remember
It's-
you making those.
Yeah, it's cable-y, and it actually starts you on the toe. So you actually start as a cable toe, which was very interesting in itself. I do have to fix the cuff on this one because I underestimated how much yarn I needed for my sewn bind off. So that was a learning experience. This fed into my cable addiction. I'll probably send a link to all my projects to them so
I
they
will
can
model
kind of show
them.
nights. Oh yeah,
I don't know if this is useful.
Pretty.
But...
and stuff.
I have sock blockers.
These were
Well, I'm just passing along so you can see them. But...
yeah. These were actually the qualifying pair for last year or the year before. No, the year before. And these were a lot of one by one twisted cables, so you learned basically how to do cables without cable needles. And a Flegel heel all in one. So.
And color
Yes,
pooling.
the
And my
texture-
first time having a color pooling thing happened to me, which I thought was kind of cool.
yeah, I mean the texture looks like Tunisian crochet almost to me.
Kind of, yeah. It was called Twisted Madness. Because it was a lot of one by one twisted cables.
It would look.
Um,
It's funny to think of how different the socks would look if they were the other twist, S versus Z or whatever these are. These are Z, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I'll have to ask Christine because she's a lefty, so all of hers were facing the other way.
No, not even. I mean, like the twist, the physical twist of the yarn.
yeah.
Because
See,
yours, the twist is like it goes, but if it doesn't, it's going to look a lot looser
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
What do you think? Maybe.
Probably.
And
Yarn
then-
physics. Okay, I hope these are clean, by the way, as I'm sticking all my hands in your socks. Like,
We're all friends here. It's fine.
They're
I
clean.
don't like you that much. I mean, I like you a lot, but I don't
Yeah,
like
no,
anyone
they're,
enough
they're clean.
to be handling their
They're
dirty
clean.
socks.
Yeah, no, they all just came off
Not
the
even
drying
Nate. I
rack.
don't want to handle his dirty socks.
They all
He's a
just
boy,
came off
that's
the
why.
drying rack. So these were last year's. One of the few pairs that you were actually allowed contrasting toes and heels. But yeah, so these were mostly slip stitch. You had to make sure you had contrast because otherwise they wouldn't look great. Which I had to start over after I got through this much of the leg because
so
I had
that-
a yarn bar.
So that looks like a broken twist.
Yeah,
broken
broken rib,
rib,
so
not broken twist.
slip
I don't
and
know
then
what a broken
broken
twist
rib.
is. We're making things up.
And then the
Oh,
second
these are
pair,
thick.
Yeah.
Dense. They're very dense.
very dense. I think I had like a 11 SPI or 9 SPI with that. So the second pair involved
SPI meaning stitches per inch.
stitches per inch.
Okay, per-
Involved beading. This is actually, I don't have it with me because I never finished the pair, but the first time I learned how to bead on knitting was through Sock Madness. And then these were called the Blackberry socks. So you actually do the beading, and where you see the little tree-ish was all done after with duplicate stitch.
That's super cute.
It was torture trying to finish the foot because it was just stuck in it.
See, I don't mind just cranking stock in it. I don't.
Well, it's
I
fine
only knit
until you
plain
have a
sock.
deadline of like,
So the like dark, like the cerulean blue and the leaves are all duplicate stitch.
Yep.
F that.
yeah.
So-
Cerulean, and we're getting all fancy.
My first time doing brioche
That's pretty.
was also via Sock Madness, and this was my pair for that.
They're not the
Wait, so it leaves everything is duplicate stitch? Here, let's show the inside of this.
Yep.
So it's like a cross stitch project.
Kind of, yeah. So
Yeah,
essentially you were knitting a vanilla with beading on the leg, and then you were cross stitching.
Interesting choice. Okay.
But, yeah.
And then
And then my first brioche anything, which I got talked into by my teammates to do a fraternal pair because it was allowed. So basically, I switched the MC and the CC, main color and contrast in color.
just the only one.
And this was also a Flegel heel.
Oh, you know what? I
So-
thought this was going to be a lot denser than it is.
It's real.
I used cloud, so it's light fingering,
Oh, okay.
so it's a much thinner.
Yeah.
yarn.
So Anzula Cloud.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's my friend Calliope's yarn from California.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll have to make sure I send her a link to this.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to do with my souls.
I have one more, and I thought I had the pair, but this is my other dropping madness. It involved dropping stitches, so it was kind of twisty, which I actually used Anna's yarn for the yellow-ish orange.
Is that
And-
Apollo?
Yeah, it's Apollo. And I paired it with a club colorway from Mad Fiber. I think Monster Room. It was a Joss. It was a Joss. Joss Whedon 3-month stint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I actually haven't seen that movie because I'm not into scary movies. So
Which makes me sad. I love scary movies, and Winnie doesn't want to watch them with me.
I will if you don't mind me biting your arm off or squeezing your arm off. So
I'm like, is biting required?
no biting is not required, but you might lose circulation in your arm. And there will be some covering of my eyes, but yeah.
What's the heel?
Can we
on
just
this?
sit
Is
on
this-
separate couches?
Winnie, do you remember what the heel on this one is?
This one. Oh, this might have been an afterthought. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, I think this might have been like a half afterthought. I remember.
Afterthought.
The
Afterthought.
bad thing about knitting during the podcast, I forgot that I was supposed to be counting stitches.
Oh, no. Didn't we run into this the first time?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like knit night, but worse. Like I just do a bunch of knitting in the podcast and then I take it all out afterwards.
Social knitting, not necessarily progressing, but yeah. So there's a couple more, but I haven't finished the pair, so I didn't bring them.
Nice. So how many rounds total are there in Sock Madness?
Including the qualifier, there's 8. So it's 7 rounds plus qualifier. When I first joined, it was qualifier plus 6 rounds. They changed it when more and more people started joining, just to make it a little more fair because people were just dropping out from not hitting the qualifier. And it probably gave them a little more time to like sort people into teams and stuff. So, but yeah. But the main moderator for the group has been moderating for 10 years.
Oh wow.
10 plus years. She's not the one that started it, but she
So it's been going on for more than a decade.
This is
it's
the
the 13th year, so yeah.
Wow.
And I guess it started on Yahoo or some blog. And I think after the 3rd year, they moved on to Ravelry because that's when it was kind of up and coming.
Nice.
So yeah,
Well, that's pretty cool.
commitment. I don't know how the mods do it because they have to basically read all the chatter threads, and it's a very chatty group.
Right? I mean, if there's like 1,800 people, they have to like verify like over 1,000 pairs
Yeah.
of socks.
Yeah, so
That's
I
a
think
lot.
there's like 8 or 9 mods. So yeah, so and this is all voluntary basis, so I give them props.
Well, remember this when a year from now you decide to volunteer to become a mod.
Nope, not doing it. Not doing
Hard
it
pass.
because
Winnie.
You say that now.
I know
but...
I can barely keep up with the chatter thread when it was a qualifier, so no.
Good. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Erin, do you want to talk about your yoga socks?
Oh yeah, I finished a design. These are a foray into brioche knitting for me, and I had to knit like 4 different ones before I figured out the construction that I liked. But they're yoga socks, so I did not wear hand knit socks today. But I'm gonna put this on to show them off because they're kind of cute. So they're open heel, open toe, and they're designed to be worn just to keep your feet kind of warm during like a yoga class. So there's a 6-row brioche repeat on the
Yeah,
top.
hold it up higher if you can, just because it's not. Yeah, there you go. Yoga pose for the yoga socks.
pose.
So it's a 6-row brioche repeat on the front with some increases. And there's a cable down either side, a brioche cable, which is kind of like regular cabling. You're putting 2 stitches on the cable needle and you have to get the yarn over. And then just a pickup and a couple rows of rib for the heel and a stretchy bind off, their toe up, stretchy bind off for the cuff. And the bottom is marled because we all love marling and it's fun. And then the back is just some brioche rib, just to make the gauge a little bit looser around the ankle. So those are fun. The pattern's written, I just need to proofread it. They're going to be small, medium, and large sizes, and it'll be out on Ravelry probably by, I don't know, April 7th, like a weekish or so. So, and the yarn is Zauber Ball it's 2 different colors, and I don't know what either of them are. There's a blue and green one and a darker blue and green one, and I had a lot of that yarn, so I wanted to use it up.
Is this the same yarn that you used for your version of this cowl? Nice.
And for socks, electric slide socks.
Mm-hmm. Also
The
from
test
Right
that I
Flower
did
Knits,
from
yes.
Right Flower, yes. So those are those. They're fun. I want to also do just an easy brioche sock, something without increases and decreases, because my sister really wants to knit brioche, but she's just doing, I think brioche delicious is what she's thinking of casting on right now. But I want to write a sock pattern that is a little bit more beginner friendly. These are not quite as beginner friendly. The ribbing or the cables especially are a little fiddly. You have to use the very tips.
Yeah, shout out to Kirsten. Ooh,
Hi
in
Kirsten,
Ohio.
Black Cat Knits OH on Ravelry.
And Instagram.
And Instagram. And maybe, I think that's Instagram actually. But she's fun. She knits too.
Yeah, hopefully
And
she
needs.
comes back for Rhinebeck this year and then we can have an episode with her.
Or we can just shame her on the podcast.
Yes. Yes. You should come. You should come. We miss hanging
I
out
love
with
you, Kirsten.
Yeah, that's why we're shaming you, because we love you and want you to
I
visit again.
I don't think I met your sister year.
I don't know.
I thought I brought her into the shop. She came in at night one year.
It was very brief. I remember me feels what you said.
Yeah, so I think that's it for sock matters and projects that we've finished. And now we get to have our discussion about 20 minutes in. I think we're okay. Do you want to do a check?
Yeah, let's check.
All right.
I'm just gonna get into this habit now. Although I think we've kind of gotten it. Oh, we're good. 20 on the nose.
Okay. So I think we should finally have our discussion about preferred ways of knitting socks.
Oh yeah.
Because we threatened to do that, in the first episode?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously all three of us are sock knitters. And we all knit socks very differently.
Bring it.
So
I am different in this group because I don't knit continental. So
we still love you.
you know, I do my own thing. So what I like the 9-inch circular needles. I like the Chagu ones. I have a Haya one, and I think the rest of mine are all Chagu. But the complaint that I've heard, so I like them because it's just one needle. I like to take my knitting places and sometimes knit when I walk. There's a recent Instagram video of that. But the nice thing about this is that there's no, you don't have to futz around with a long cable or juggle a lot of needles. It's just one, and you keep going and going and going and going until you get to a point where you're done. So that's why I like them. They're tiny. They move nicely. I'm used to working with small stuff from doing a lot of surgery at work, and it's one less thing to get lost in my giant mess of a purse sometimes. So, yes, I'm camp 9-inch circular needles, and they're also nice for the bottom part of sleeves on sweaters. So that's nice to use them for too.
I don't mind 9-inch circulars. I just lose tension, so it's more futzy that way. But I can see the appeal of having to not have to deal with multiple needles or cord, and you can also just kind of stop wherever and not have it fall off the needles at the same time.
yeah, see, I like them in theory, but when I tried using the 9-inch circs, it made my hands cramp up and hurt, and I figured out that it's because I'm a continental knitter, and it has to do with the way that I sort of leverage off of the needle. And the tips on the 9-inch circs are super short. I mean, if we look at them, how long do you think the actual point is?
The
the
point
I
part?
mean the whole tip. I'm gonna
2 inches.
Yeah. So see, that's teeny tiny. And as a continental knitter, that just wasn't giving me sort of enough to leverage off of. I do my socks on DPNs. That you're leveraging.
I'm leveraging. Yeah.
Yeah. See, so if that part's
makes
missing,
sense,
yeah. So
because I had to take breaks when I tried them, and I was getting cramps from that. Yeah.
See, I feel so validated.
I think I'm the one that pointed it out to you, actually.
What, that it was the leverage? Sure, but I'm just saying, it wasn't just my hands cramping. It's not just me having bad hands. But so I like double points. I use, 3 in the sock and an extra to knit. I don't use 5 double points. And I specifically like the carbons by Knitter's Pride. So it's a carbon fiber needle body. I don't know if that's the right word.
Shaft.
No. And metal tips. So basically what you get is you get the warmth and you get the grip of wood so they don't slide out of your project. Really, you two? You're going to keep laughing? So it doesn't slide out of your project, but because the tips are metal, you still get the speed, so it's not slowing you down like wood. And you expect me to take you seriously when you're drinking mud in a bottle.
It's cookie dough flavored protein shake and almond milk.
It's gross.
It's a recovery day for me.
Yeah, so I've never really had trouble with ladders. So that for me hasn't really been a concern with double points. I don't like magic loop because I am profoundly irritated by the amount of time that you spend adjusting the cable, and I feel like it really slows me down. So team double points.
I like the carbons because I tried out that one pair, but my problem is that they don't make carbons short enough for my liking. Because I find the 6-inch ones a little too long.
Even if you use just 3 needles like I am?
Yeah, because I kept up with myself. I was like, yep. It's like, so I like the feel of the carbons. I just wish they came a little shorter. And I might bounce back between them.
They're nice
and
pointy. They make a nice satisfying click when
Yeah.
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 And so you
So-
are team Magic Loop.
Magic loop-ish, I guess. I kind of do a modified magic loop. Because typically, sorry, like an SSK.
Hold your SSK.
For SSK. So yeah, so typically, when you magic loop, let me just show really quick. You have your needle, your work on 2 needles. You finish one side and you pull this way and you start knitting again. I never really had a laddering problem, but I also found sometimes I might pull this a little too tight when it's on the cord. And so I had started developing my way of basically every time I have to start on a new side, I shift like 4 to 5 stitches. And so I still have the 2 years with the magic loop, but
Isn't that called like a traveling Magic Loop or something?
it's a modified traveling loop. So, which traveling loop is kind of magic loop as far as categories go. But someone else in Slack has kind of pointed that out to me. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I didn't know there was a name for it. So, yeah. So it's a modified magic loop, traveling loop combo that I do. But I just kind of like it. I don't have to deal with losing a needle or 5 needles or 3 needles.
And so you're using Chowgoos, right?
I am using Chowgoos. I have their twist minis, and their cord is the same as their red lace cord, but it's much thinner, and it's great for softening because then you can. They're ridiculously
really
thin.
Super thin, super flexible.
We'll have to take a picture of like a regular cord next to this, so you can kind of tell the width difference. But it's great for softening.
What are you looking for?
I was looking for cord. I mean, I have one on my socks.
I have one
but...
here.
I thought you were calling cat over.
Well, that too.
Now
But
you
it
have
doesn't
a
take
cat.
much. Don't
Yeah,
eat my
so-
purse handles or my yarn.
Did you want to talk about that?
I mean, it didn't break the camera lens, so that's good.
We had a button accident.
Okay.
Wardrobe malfunction. Since we're talking
Anyways,
about.
Okay, so we were talking about the different cable lengths.
the different cable lengths. So
I mean thicknesses.
Yeah,
So
thicknesses,
we're
yeah.
going to splice in a picture of those cables right now. On the camera. Yeah, so you can see that
the
the
difference.
difference, the what's it called? The mini cable?
Yeah, the twist minis.
Twist mini,
and then
yeah.
These are just or lace
Yeah, so
minis.
the twist mini is about like half the diameter of the other one.
Yeah.
So super tiny.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see in the picture and stuff.
Cool. Yeah, so show us your sweater project that was supposed to be part of our sweater challenge.
Yeah. So basically, I had started a different sweater, but it wasn't going to get done in time for the deadline. Not that it was a hard deadline, anyways, but I needed instant gratification.
Mhm.
I will have to blame Erin because she did send me to this pattern when it literally just got released on Instagram.
Sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry, but I started stalking and fantasy knitting, and it was sport weight. I'm like, I can get this done in a week.
Yeah, so the pattern is by my friend Simone, Owlcat Designs.
It's called Vitamin B.
Right. Yes.
Yes, Vitamin B. It's a whole collection of her brioche inserts. As you can see from the body, there's a little brioche on the side.
Yeah, that's a good. Especially on the little
Mhm.
tissue.
Oh yeah.
You can
What's
see
that
it from
contrast
a
color?
different side. Yeah.
Yes.
A little more from the inside, you can tell where the brioche is.
Yeah, so this is Malabrigo Arroyo, right?
Yeah, in the chameleon colorway.
And Flama.
And Flama is the
No!
orangey red.
Munin. Is he
Don't
eating
eat
your
my
yarn?
nightshades. Deadly nightshades.
But yeah, so it's a top down sweater. And until I think about maybe 3 inches after the sleeve separation, it then becomes flat knitting to do the brioche insert, which essentially it's kind of like intarsia and brioche at the same time because you don't carry the yarn all the way through.
Right, and you were
And-
slipping the stitches to get back to
You
where the
slip the
brioche
stitches
is.
to basically do the return pass or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And then you seam it in the end. And I only have so basically if you follow the shop on Instagram, she posted a picture of our varying levels of finishedness in sweaters.
Oh
and,
yeah,
and I
in our
only had
stories.
I only had 1 sleeve done by the anniversary party, but now I'm almost done with my 2nd sleeve. So
Yeah, I can totally put that
Good
photo in
clothing,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, nice.
so I almost made it for the anniversary.
So
but
close.
So close.
Did I point out my bag? Was that in there?
No, so your bag, I think, is our last thing.
So I just wanted to show my tech got me a bag. She said, I saw this and I thought of you. And it says It Happens. And it's a reusable shopping bag because we love the earth here in Salem and we don't use single-use plastic bags anymore. Although if you spend enough money at CVS, they'll give you a thicker disposable plastic.
Oh.
Well, no, it's considered a reusable
It's for
one.
Joanne.
I think is it 4 millimeters? Like if it's after a certain thickness, it's not considered a single use anymore. It's supposed to be one that you
Yeah,
can
because
keep.
they're too thick to
Oh.
use for like dog poop by that point.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I know,
because
yeah.
Market Basket has those that are like slightly thicker.
Yeah.
Oh, before I forget, I did learn a new alternating skein method with this sweater.
Yeah, for
Not-
hand-dyed yarns.
For
yeah.
hand-dyed yarns, or which if you do hand-dyed yarns, you want to alternate anyways, especially if you're using Malabriga, if you don't want the pooling happen. And it was actually a tip posted by someone else in a different group I'm on in Ravelry. And essentially, when you're alternating yarns, you end up having to twist the yarns, and then you have a ridge on the inside, kind of looks like a seam, but not quite as thick. And with the method that I learned, and it has been such a game changer, is that when you join the yarn, you basically you knit around, and then 3 stitches before your next color, like you're alternating, so yarn B and yarn A, you slip those 3 stitches, and then you basically drop yarn A and pick up yarn B and keep going. And so essentially, where you join helically slips diagonally, but there's no ridges on the inside. And I'll send them a link to post on the show notes so you guys can
Yeah, that's super
enjoy
cool.
that. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think that's all that we have for today.
3 times the charm.
Yeah, so smash that like button, subscribe, share,
And
right?
write your thoughts in the comment box down below.
Yeah.
What's your favorite sock knitting needle method?
Yes, please vote.
The good
Yeah.
one or one of the other ones?
Hey! The correct way. And suckers! All right, thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.